The lyrics to the old song go something like this. If you ever plan to travel west, take the highway, that's the byway, that's the best. Get your kicks on Route 66. Well, I don't know about getting my kicks on Route 66, but old Highway 99 will probably give me a thrill. Hi, my name is Philip Scorza, and I would like to welcome you to our show, Points of Interest. Highway 99 ran right through the Santa Clarita Valley. In fact, it was the highway that replaced the old ridge route. Today, what we're going to do is we're going to travel Highway 99, and we're going to visit with a young man who's done an awful lot of research on Highway 99. His name is Mike Ballard. Mike, how are you? Thanks for joining us today.
Doing okay, and glad to be here.
Well, I'm glad you're here too. Right now, we're standing on this bridge, which goes over the Southern Pacific Railroad tracks right down below us here. And this bridge was sort of where the Highway 99 started for the Santa Clarita Valley. Could you tell us a little bit about this?
Well, this bridge was originally built back in 1911 and was widened to what you see today in 1936.
Okay, so the bridge was used actually for the ridge route as well as Highway 99 then?
That's correct.
That's correct. Oh, okay, good.
It was on the sign route for US 99 for a period of 2 years, then being bypassed
Okay.
in 1930.
Okay, and when they used it for Highway 99 as well as the ridge route, of course, none of the freeway was here, but the railroad track was here, right? That's why they needed the bridge.
That's correct. This is called the Tunnel Station Viaduct, as there was an old train station here called Tunnel Station.
The tunnel is around this little bend here, I would say probably less than a quarter of a mile from us right now, and that, of course, is the famous San Fernando Tunnel that the railroad had it to use to travel under the mountains, right?
That's correct.
Yeah. Well, Mike, this bridge has a lot of architectural design built into it, which was something they don't do today with bridges. What is this that we're looking at right here?
This is one of the 5 light posts that used to exist on this bridge, lighting the bridge, making it easier for traffic to see it, and made it look nice.
What happened to them? Where'd they go?
They were taken out by the right about the 1960s, probably.
Oh, okay. So the bridge we're on right now was used for the ridge route. It was used for Road 99. And of course, it's still used for Sierra Highway today.
It was also used for US 6 for a period of time.
That's right, because Sierra Highway used to be US 6, wasn't it?
That's correct.
I know you have a lot of photographs to share with us of what the bridge looked like when it was first built. So what do you say we take a look at some of those now?
Let's go check it out.
Okay, what is this picture of?
This is a photo of this canyon here showing this bridge that we're standing on.
Okay, in the bottom left is the bridge we're standing on.
That's correct.
And we're looking what direction?
This is looking north.
Looking north.
Up old US 99 and Foothill Boulevard and Sierra Highway.
Okay, long before the freeway was put in.
About 5 years before the freeway was put in.
Okay, and here we're looking south?
This photo's looking south at the same area showing Sierra Highway, the bridge, Foothill Boulevard, and the railroad tracks going through.
Railroad track going under the bridge we're standing on. It's great. Well, what we're going to do today is Mike and I are going to travel up Highway 99, and we're going to stop off along the way and look at remnants of the old highway, bridge abutments, whatever we find. And Mike, of course, has more photographs to share with us. So what do you say you and I hop in the car and get going?
Let's go for a drive.
Okay. Well, right now we're up on a place called Gavin Canyon. Right behind me over here, I should say on my right, is the old Notel Motel. And the entrance to Rice Canyon, where the famous hiking place, is right behind our camera. Mike, let's talk a little bit about the history of 99. Now, we know they used the ridge route from about 1910 to the early 30s, and then 99 replaced it. Is that correct?
That is correct. In 1930, the Newhall alternate was finished. It ran from Tunnel Station all the way north to Saugus Junction.
Okay, and this stretch of highway that's behind us here was built then in 1930, correct?
That's correct. It was built as a 3-lane highway.
3-lane highway.
The center lane, we had one lane one direction, one lane the other, and the center lane was a common passing lane. A suicide lane, as it's
Yes,
nicknamed.
I could see how you might want to call it a suicide lane. So if I'm driving northbound and I want to pass, I've got to make sure nobody's trying to pass in the southbound.
That's correct.
Okay. And so they used that from about 1930 until when?
And they widened that to a 4-lane expressway in 1951.
Now, did they? And when you say expressway, an expressway to me means that there was absolutely no no intersections. Was that the kind of road it was?
Well, what it was a limited access highway. You can only cross the highway at certain locations.
Oh, okay.
It was not a grade separated roadway.
But there were still stoplights or stop signs along it.
There were still traffic lights. There was traffic lights at Saugus Junction and Castaic Junction.
Okay. Now, I know you have a lot of great photographs that you're going to share with us of the stretch of highway just north of here. So why don't we take a look at those now?
Okay.
All right. This photograph was taken in 1930 when the highway first opened up, and you can see the 3 lanes. You said it was a 3-lane highway. The suicide lane is in the middle, and we're looking north up Highway 99, right?
That's correct. This bluff here is right next to the current Gavin Canyon bridges.
Okay.
Which would be right in front of us in the photo.
For those of you who are familiar with the old road, on the right side, just out of the photo, would be that trailer park. And let's take a look at that photo now. Taken a few years later, there's the trailer court in the right side of the photograph. And of course, that's the Interstate 5 bridge crossing over what today we call is the old road. Is that correct?
That's correct. This photo was probably taken about 1970. You can see the old rest area that was just south of the Gavin Canyon bridges.
Yeah, and that's on the left side of the freeway.
And you can also see the old concrete that used to exist on the old road here.
Right, and we're standing, just so people know, we're standing in the, about the middle on the left side there. You see some buildings. That's where the old no-tel, show-tel, whatever it was called, motel was. Okay, and here we are looking south, correct?
That is correct. Looking at the same area that we're standing in right now.
Before the freeway was built.
Before the freeway was built, before the highway was even widened from 3 lanes. This is taken about 1949.
Okay, are we looking north or south here?
We're looking north in this photo. This photo was taken as an aerial shot back in 1949, showing the end of the widening work.
So where the light strip of concrete ends and then the dark begins?
Yeah, the dark was a temporary strip of pavement laid, and the expressway, which you can see north of here, wasn't extended south until 1951.
And this would be around the intersection of what street and Interstate 5?
Well, this would be Lyons Avenue crossing directly over where the black pavement begins.
Okay, and just the opposite here, now we're looking south from Lyons Avenue, correct?
That is correct. You can also see the end of the widening work done back in 49. There's a little Richfield station in the lower left-hand corner.
When you say the widening work in 1949, they went from 3 lanes to what, 4 lanes then?
That's correct.
Okay, and these buildings in the center of the photograph, that would be what we call Smizer's Mule Farm today, correct?
That is correct.
So we're looking up towards Calgrove Boulevard.
And Calgrove Boulevard would be just about where the highway disappears from the photo.
Okay, this is looking north, approximately where McBean Parkway crosses Interstate 5, or in this case, of course, it was Old 99. Do you think much of this has changed?
Well, not really. Well, not for now, anyway. The areas to the west of the freeway and the east of the freeway are still basically rolling hills.
Right, that's where that new Westridge development's going to go in then.
That's correct. All this, the expressway visible in the photo is now buried underneath Interstate 5. But
did they use much of Interstate 5, of the old 99 when they built Interstate 5?
Well, in fact, they used part of the old, when they used the old alignment, they shifted the whole highway slightly over to the west. So if there's a couple old culverts remaining from the 20s and a few old highway right-of-way markers.
Mike, where are we going to go from here?
Well, from here, we're going to go check out some abutments and piers for an old river bridge, the Santa Clara River Bridge.
Well, let's go. Now, Mike tells me that this bridge abutment that we're sitting on was actually built for the original Ridge Route back around 1910, 1912, 19 something like that, right?
1916, built by the County of Los Angeles.
Okay, and then, but the same abutment was used when they stopped using the Ridge Route. This same bridge was used for Highway 99, is that correct?
That's correct. It was in use from 1916 up until March 12th, 1928, the day the St. Francis Dam collapsed.
Ah, right. And then, of course, when the dam washed the bridge off of the abutments.
As a matter of fact, it washed it 300 feet downstream.
Wow, wow.
Big, nice steel truss bridge, very similar to the railroad bridge.
Now then, did they rebuild or did they put a new bridge in at that time?
Well, at the time, they put in a temporary pile structure. Drove a bunch of wooden telephone poles, basically, into the river and built a temporary bridge, utilizing the old highway until they could replace it with the bridge that is currently in use.
Okay. And then they went back to using this then after that?
After that, they took out the piles and just left it.
Oh,
they abandoned the bridge.
Oh, so they abandoned this, built a whole new bridge then?
Built a whole new bridge on a whole new alignment.
Ah.
A much more direct and straighter alignment.
Oh, I see. Okay, fine. That's interesting. Well, that's why I want to wander around here and take a look at some more of this, because this is really interesting. Shall we do that?
Sure. You can see in the middle the 1917 concrete that was widened in 1922 with concrete shoulders. Pavement was added over in the mid-20s.
All right, we're just going to walk around. Hey, where'd you get that from?
Found it lying on the ground over here.
Right now we're at Castaic Junction, which is the intersection of Highway 126 and Interstate 5. The road is divided here, but what's this section behind us here, Mike?
Well, this is one of the few stretches where the original highway was used during the widening process.
Okay. I know that you have some photographs of both Castaic Junction and what you called Saugus Junction. Let's take a look at those. The road going off to the right is what used to be called the Saugus to Ventura Highway. Today we call it Magic Mountain Parkway. And that's where Magic Mountain Parkway basically dead ends into Highway 99, right, Mike?
Well, that's correct. The intersection that exists here is actually the new intersection for Magic Mountain Parkway has been shifted to the south.
A little bit further south, right.
And that was done in 1964 to accommodate for the freeway.
Right. This little road that goes off to the left and curves out of sight, that's the entrance to the back of Magic Mountain where the employees park.
That's correct. And part of it is the original alignment of US 99, dating back to the Ridge Route days.
Okay, what direction are we looking here?
This photo is looking south towards the original intersection with Saugus to Ventura Highway and US 99.
And Don Lyon's Chevron station stood on the corner, approximately where the Marie Callender is.
That's correct. And the power lines follow the original alignment of the Ridge Route.
Right, okay.
This is also the end of the 1930 highway that extended from Newhall Pass to Saugus Junction.
This is a great photograph. The busy intersection of Highway 126 and Old Route 99, which of course we call Castaic Junction. Tell us about this. Well,
in the foreground, you can see a standard station being constructed. It was a newer station, a much larger station, replacing an original one built back in the 1930s.
And that building there, that restaurant is called what?
That's Tips.
That's the original Tips there, right?
Thick steaks, thin pancakes.
And that's where Jimmy Dean had his last meal?
Well, James
Dean, excuse me.
Yeah.
Jimmy Dean makes sausage. I see the railroad track behind Tips there. And of course, we're looking south. This is a great photograph. And here's the same intersection looking north. Is that right, Mike?
That's correct. This is 1949.
Looking north towards Castaic. And here we have?
This is a photo looking south at Castaic Junction from the ground. You can see US 99 and Old State Route 126 shield on the side and the original traffic lights.
Oh, they had traffic lights at this intersection.
Now, these were installed back in 1948, part of the whole widening expressway work. The traffic signals were taken down in 1964, but the poles still remain today.
We followed Old Route 99 past Castaic Junction through the town of Castaic itself. In Castaic, we got back on Interstate 5 and we drove north until we got to Templin Highway. We got off at Templin Highway, and that's where we are now. We're driving up this beautiful, pristine stretch of Old Route 99, 4 lanes.
One of the nice divided highway segments. This is the only place they could do it over the mountains. It gets down to 2 lanes the whole way, although
yeah, now I noticed that they do narrow it down even though you have plenty of road here. Well, it's really beautiful up here, Mike. Now, this is old Route 99, and we're in, what is this, Piru Gorge, you said,
Piru
right?
Gorge, that's correct.
Okay, tell us about this stretch of highway.
Well, this stretch of highway was one of the last stretches of highway to be widened to a 4-lane highway.
Mm-hmm.
This is the 1951 widening.
Okay.
This is this where we're standing in here. The location is called Frenchman's Flat. I'm unsure exactly where the name came from.
And we don't have to worry about getting run over because about a quarter of a mile up the road here is a gate that keeps people from driving in. Now, what happens if I went up the road this way?
If you go about another 2 miles further on, you reach Pyramid Rock and Pyramid Dam.
And Pyramid, so this runs under the lake, obviously.
That's
right?
correct.
Okay, and tell us about Pyramid Rock.
Well, Pyramid Rock was a rock. It was an old spur of a ridge where Piru Creek went around the rock.
Mm-hmm.
And then when 1933, when the highway was built, they cut through the spur, creating this pyramid-shaped rock.
Ah, hence the name Pyramid Rock, Pyramid Lake, etc.
That's correct. That's where the name Pyramid Lake came from. And the rock is still above water and still isn't...
you can see it from the highway,
You can still see it from the highway, and it's not underneath the water as a lot of people think.
Right. Well, we know we can't drive further north here, so basically this is about as far as we're going to go along old Route 99. Now, you told me earlier that the old 99 goes under Pyramid Lake, and as far as you know, the highway is under there, and bridges are under there, and all that stuff. They just left that there. Is that correct?
As far as I know, that's still there.
Okay. And now, north of Pyramid Lake, parts of old 99 are still present, but not a lot of them, right?
Well, there's a few stretches, a couple sections of the expressway alignment, and a couple of stretches of the original 30s alignment.
Okay,
through Gorman and Tejon Pass,
and the town of Lebec and all that sort of thing.
Yes, in Lebec you have the 1915 to 1919 Ridge Route.
It's amazing to me, Mike, because you know all of this stuff. You've really done a lot of research. Obviously, you went to a great deal of trouble to get the photographs that you've shared with us today. How did you get interested in this? I mean, here's a young man who's 20 years old, and yet you like history. Tell us about your interest in this.
I've just always been interested in following the old highways, old railroads, and interested in the railroads. And there's a lot of old highways in the area where I live. Old bridges from the 30s and the teens.
So what, you be driving along with your parents, you say, pull over, I got to go see that old abutment over there?
Eventually I got to that, yeah. And this actually stretch of highway just south of here is what really got me interested in the highways, because there's a big 4-lane highway going through with very little traveled, going into a big canyon. Yeah.
Now we're standing on
and
here.
It's very visible from Interstate 5.
Right, I see. Okay.
And I always wonder, why was it there? Why aren't we on it? Because we follow the old highways too.
So you took the time and you went to the bother of
eventually, yeah. It took me a long time to get through it, but now I know pretty much what I need to know on Highway 99.
And you went up to, now you told me that you've been up to Sacramento to the Caltrans headquarters up there, correct?
Yeah, so I've gone to the Caltrans Transportation Library in Sacramento. That's where I've done a lot of my research, and they've been very helpful to me.
And you got your photographs from them.
And I've also received my photographs.
So those people know you well.
They know me very well. I've been on there for about 2 years now. Now, this magazine here is one of the magazines that's helped me out in my research. It's a magazine put out by the predecessor to Caltrans, the California Division of Highways, from back in from the 1920s up until the late 1960s.
Okay, this is an aerial view taken of Castaic way back in what year?
1958.
1958, and we're looking at
downtown Castaic.
Looking north.
The expressway is to the left.
That's that straight line.
And the ridge route veers off to the right.
Mm-hmm.
And the middle road is Highway 99 as it existed as a 3-lane highway from 1933 to 1951.
Okay, this photo was taken just about a half a mile, 3/4 of a mile north of where we're standing now, right?
That's correct. And to the right, you can see the original channel change, a structure that saved the cost of 2 bridges crossing Piru Creek. This is also about where the opening ceremonies took place on October 29th, 1933, for the opening of the Ridge Route Alternate.
In this photo, we are looking south, and that curve in the middle of the photo going off to the left is about where we're standing, right?
That's correct. That's Frenchman's Flat, bottom of 3 Mile Grade, in the beginning of the Piru Gorge.
We're looking south in this photo back towards Castaic at the top of the picture, and just at the bottom of the picture is about where we're standing. Is that right, Mike?
That is correct. This area, this particular section of highway is known as 3 Mile Grade, and this you can still drive today.
And there's a campground in this picture about halfway up the picture on the right side of the road, which I've camped at. What's that called?
That's called the Oak Flat Campground.
Okay, this is February 1958, and you told me that little bowl-shaped area in the middle of the picture is underwater now, right?
That's correct. That's the area that Pyramid Lake now sits in. Pyramid Dam is about halfway down the photo.
And that's that sort of strata, that line of strata rock that cuts across the photo there.
That's correct. It's just to the north of that, and where the highway disappears from view for a short period of time.
The next two photos are basically showing what the land was like before Pyramid Lake was built, because both of these photos are now under the waters of Pyramid Lake. Tell me about this first photo here.
Well, this photo is looking south, looking towards Castaic, and you can see the large area in which is underwater now. The island, which is that is in Pyramid Lake, is on the right-hand side of the highway.
Right where the road makes that curve and goes out of sight.
That's correct. And the dam is right at the big narrows, that large barrier area.
And this other photo is, there's some buildings in the second photo. What are those buildings?
That is the part of the Oak Flat maintenance station.
Okay, that's the maintenance station, and that's underwater too, right?
That's correct.
Okay. Now, I know that you're studying geology and you want to go away to Colorado and finish up your education. Tell us about your interest in geology.
I've been interested in geology for probably about 15 years, and maybe even a little bit more than that. The area that I live in is just surrounded by large buttes and deep canyons. I always wondered why they were there. And the rocks formations are just very interesting. Gold, borax.
Yeah, and oil.
And oil.
It's all there. Yeah.
All these, there's oil seeps readily visible. I always wondered why they were there, and just makes me very interested in geology.
Well, and the other thing that I wanted to ask you about was the book you're writing about Highway 99. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, I'm writing a book on US 99. It's going to cover the highway from Los Angeles to Bakersfield, which is the most important stretch of the highway to California history. Mm-hmm. It's going to be very detailed on the highway itself, and it's going to talk about all the different places to stop along the highways. And
you've obviously got a lot of photographs to share. Are you going to try and get some personal life stories?
I'd like to try to get at least a few in there, add more to it.
Right. Well, Mike, I've had a really terrific time finding out about the history of old Highway 99. We've got some beautiful weather today, and it's fresh air and sunshine. I would like to thank you for coming on our program and sharing your history and your photographs with us.
Well, you're welcome, and it's been a lot of fun doing it.
It has been a lot of fun. And you found a new sign, I should say an old sign that looks brand new, Highway 99. Amazing how that happened, isn't it?
Amazing.
Anyway, we've had a great time. I'd like to thank you for watching, and I'd like to thank our camera operator, Denise Rue, for being along with us. And until next time, this is Philip Scorza for Points of Interest.